The added line was, I'm Parsi. There I say this is haram and drink it. Almitra, the Persian-Pakistani writer, performer, composer. Or if I was getting seen, I was only getting seen as a diversity hire.
Right.
Or like a quota checkbox.
Right.
You know?
Getting the wrong sorts of rules.
I can't do this.
Growing up female in Pakistan, growing up a minority in Pakistan, and having...
I am a minority and I deserve this. I just don't care at this point, right? I'm just like unapologetically, and I got to that point. Yes, there was a lot of censoring in the West. Like,
how do you feel about both people?
Are the tears real?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I put myself through that every night.
Content producer, you don't have time to respond to comments.
I'm not a content producer though. I'm not. I only do it because I have to. Hate
I would not call
passion.
Leonardo da Vinci a content producer.
Yeah, correct.
But he is a content producer. Alright guys, we are here with Almitra Mavalvala. Right?
Correct.
Correct. Take it. She's an artist, she's a singer, she's an actor, a producer, a playwright. She also recently did this one-woman show called Blacklisted. It's rare to find a good one-woman show. It's even rarer to find it in Pakistan, and it's rarest to find it done bilingually.
Yes.
Right. Tell us a bit more about your journey. देखिए जी आप start किया आपने Australia से. The show started in Australia.
Yes, the show started in Australia, but I am born and bred Pakistani.
Right.
I was born in Karachi, and then I left to go to Australia when I was 22.
All right.
22. Got my bachelor in music theatre.
All right.
And then finished that, and then started auditioning for things and wasn't getting cast. I said, screw it, I'm just going to make my own stuff. And so I started writing, at the time in 2019, I started writing another musical, which we won't talk about right now. But then in 2020, actually lies, in 2019 when my 6th visa rejection came through,
Right.
Someone was just like, haha, it would be really funny if you wrote about this. And I'm like, haha, no. And so a year later, COVID hit, and I was taking a masterclass in cabaret writing.
Right.
And so I just, as a joke, threw it out there. I was like, haha, I keep getting denied visas because I hold a Pakistani passport. And everyone just kind of clocked in. And they were like, what do you mean you need a visa? And I was like, what do you mean you don't?
Right. Right.
So I got rejected 6 times, and then a year later, COVID hit. And then I took a masterclass from a woman called Alexis Fishman.
Right.
And she basically said, I want to see you write this story. And I was like, at the time, I was umming and ahhing about it. And I was like, do I write it? Do I not? Because at the time, you're sitting in trauma.
Right.
Right? And you don't really want to process that trauma that way.
Right.
But I think as an artist, I have always processed.
They say that all great art comes from trauma. Like you have to be traumatized to produce great art.
Yes and no. I have created good art through like being in a happy place.
Okay.
But yes, all art is inspired by some form of
Suffering.
some form of it.
Right.
But I have written music in my happy days as well, so I must put that out there that it's not all trauma. I guess, yeah. So she gave me permission to write it, and then I said, okay, I'll write it. And so COVID, I had all the time in the world.
Right.
To just write. And I had no deadlines. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what I can make into this. So the title song, Blacklisted, was the first thing I wrote because I was angry, right? I was extremely angry. And you saw that anger in the show yesterday.
Yes.
And so I guess that thing came first. And then I sat with a dramaturg who is basically someone who takes your script and gives it form. Or she's not really an editor.
Right.
She's just someone who will ask the question, he or she. will ask the questions of where this show is going, what is the journey, and their job is basically to help you write the arc.
I see.
Their job is not to edit.
Okay.
Yeah. They can suggest,
All right.
but their job is not to edit.
Okay. And then?
And then I wrote the show. And then I started pitching it to producers. And in 2020, later that year, I pitched it.
You first performed in Australia, right?
Yes. And so in 2021, I pitched it to producers and someone picked it up and they were just like, this is great. And so in 2022 was the first time, and that's how long it took to put together a team. I had friends that helped me with the music. And then, it all came together. In 2022 was the first time I performed it.
Sorry, was it hard for you to find your voice as a South Asian artist abroad?
100%. 100%. Yeah. That's why you started writing, right? Because I wasn't getting cast. I wasn't getting seen in roles that I wanted to do. Or if I was getting seen, I was only getting seen as a diversity hire.
Right.
Or like a quota checkbox.
Right.
You know?
Getting the wrong sorts of roles.
Or just not right for the roles either. But also I would say, and the thing is, by international standards, I'm not a proper dancer, right? I'm a strong mover.
Okay.
Right? A strong mover.
I'm blissfully unaware of the dance world and its, machinations.
So when I went from Pakistan, I was just like, oh, I can move. I can pick up choreography. Right. I did Greece when I was here.
Right.
So I was like, okay, cool. I can move. I can dance.
Right.
And I went there and my training was all like jazz and tap and ballet and lyrical. And I was like, I can't do this. I haven't been dancing since I was 7 years old. Right. So I'm like, no, I can't actually be that quick.
Right.
And so when musicals come around, they're looking for triple threats.
Okay. Somebody who can dance, sing, and act.
Yes, right. All three. And so I would always get cut with the dance call because I wasn't a strong dancer. I know. I'd never get to sing. And so when I eventually got an agent,
right,
I had to fight. Also, like, I have epilepsy. Yes.
We'll talk about that with Aaliya, and yes, we'll come to it.
So I have epilepsy, and so finding spaces that were safe enough for me to actually do dance, and I could, I can pick up choreography. It just takes me a little while.
Yes.
Right? And so accessibility, I pushed for it, right, with my agent. I'm like, look, I have this condition. They keep wanting to see me for dance roles first. I can do it. I just need more time. Either you provide me with the choreography beforehand, or you give me more time in the rehearsal room.
Right.
And also, when you're learning for a show, there's no way you're learning choreography in 20 minutes and then going 5, 6, 7, 8, let's go. No, you need time.
You do need time and practice and rehearsals.
Yeah. Yes. And so there were audition rooms which did that for me, and I was very, very grateful for it.
Right.
But there came a point where I was just like, I'm not really, it doesn't serve me and it doesn't bring me joy. And so my niche was lying in new works.
Right.
Creating new works and writing new works and writing music and writing and collaborating with other people. That was where my joy was lying.
That is amazing. So instead of fighting for a role, you gave yourself a role.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I just make my own stuff. And by doing that, I am then opening up more roles for other people as well.
Right.
Which has always been like my goal, to create these stories where people can see themselves and also just, do a good job and just tell stories that matter.
Speaking of stories that matter,
yes,
you grew up in Karachi as a minority. It's a triple whammy. Growing up female in Pakistan, growing up a minority in Pakistan, and having, the disability that you have.
Yeah.
How was that experience? It must not have been easy.
Yeah. The answer to that is, I think
You don't have your politically correct.
No, I know.
Okay.
It's just that the minority part of me never felt it, right? The minority part of me, I guess, was always just so carefree, so very proud of where I came from, of my culture, but also we just kind of like live under the radar. We really don't actively come out and be like, I am a minority and I deserve this.
Right.
Couldn't care less. I just did my own thing. And, you know, but it's nice to be, I guess, acknowledged as a Parsi.
But at the same time, wouldn't you say it's rather a position of privilege to say you would live under the radar and not be bothered about it?
Ye bhi hai. Absolutely.
In your play itself, there was a very interesting moment in which you take out what appears to be a bottle of vodka.
Yes.
You take a shot.
Yes.
And then you say it's haram, but I'm a Parsi.
Correct.
And I remember in the show, there was a lot of cheering for that.
There was.
So
Every time. But I don't, and that was a Pakistani edition.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the added line was, I'm Parsi. There I say this is haram and drink it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you self-censor when you like performing the show, outside Pakistan as compared to inside Pakistan? I mean, is there like a members-only view that somebody can have?
Yes and no. No.
I see.
I had to just kind of also, in all honesty,
Right.
I also had to mold it to the relatability of the Pakistani crowd. Right? So the whole section that I do before I sing Karachi,
right,
I translated.
Okay.
For the Pakistani audience.
For the Pakistani audience.
Yeah. There I did it in English, but the song I did in Urdu.
Okay.
The song I did not change. The song I did not, like both the songs that were written in Urdu, I performed in Urdu.
Do you believe the bilinguality of the show is important for the audience?
Yes, 100%. You know, and I had to actually fight in the West for Karachi being completely Urdu, right? Because I was told, they're like, maybe you should do like a verse or a chorus in English. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I have done a 75-minute show in your language.
Right.
You can sit for like 5 minutes and listen to my language.
2 thumbs up, way up. I completely agree. It's artistic performance.
Yeah.
They should respect that.
And so, but also when I turned back and talked to the audience after the show, and I asked them in Australia, I asked them what was your favorite moment or song, and they were all 9 out of 10 times the song about your home.
Because you do sing it very beautifully and it's very heartfelt.
Yeah.
And I think it shines through in any language.
In any language. And this is my saying to all young singers or singers and actors in general, is that just believe the words you are saying, right? Believe what you are saying and sing them with your heart, and you will be fine. Storytelling through song is what I trained in.
Speaking of words that you believe in, in that play, you said a sentence which came from your mother.
Yes. My mother seems to think
it was some advice that she gave you.
Yes.
I think it was a part of that advice has been given to pretty much every immigrant child.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that advice? What was it?
Yeah, it was don't look back. There is no future for you here.
How do you feel about that? That hurt?
Yeah, I think, and my mom seems to think she's the villain in this story. She's not.
She's not.
She's
just
really
a very
not.
caring mother.
Of course. I love you, Mom.
How did it make you feel? I mean, hearing it for the first time.
I think I was very young when I had to leave, right? And so in that moment, there's that guilt, but then there's also that torn place where I'm like, I shouldn't have to leave.
Yes.
I really shouldn't have to leave. But okay, I see your point. I see that this place is kind of going to shit. Sure, I'll leave. But then, I say this in the show as well. The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Right.
There's a different set of challenges. Yes, there's a bit more safety in terms of I can walk the streets at 12:30 in the night and still come home and be okay. But then again, this is my home. You know, it's like I get to make one phone call and 20 people will show up, right, to either rescue me or take care of me, or if something happens. And this is when I realized I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? When I was, my visa was 1 year, right? And that was the ending bit. And then 2023, September, I had a seizure, right, in my workplace. And the paramedics came and they said, can you call someone to take you home? And I had no one I could call, right? And in that moment, I was like, oh shit, you know, I'm like, it's time to go home. Yeah.
What's your idea of home?
Home, I say this in my show as well. It is the people. It is 100% the people where you feel at home, right? I get to, like, I've spent all this time in Lahore, right? And I've had many, many challenges in it. But I get to go home and I just get to, like, hug my brother and my mom and my dad and my dogs.
Right.
And it's going to be fine. I can sit there and I can cry for like 3 days and it'll still be fine.
You also talked about identity in your show. Was there ever a time that you felt that you had to prove your identity again and again and again?
Oh, all the time, right? And so in the West, I could never be, as you originally introduced me, as just an artist, composer, writer, right? I could never just be that, right? I had to be Almitra, the Persian-Pakistani writer, performer, composer, because that's what's getting me into doors, right? And that's what's making me be seen. And this idea of diversity and inclusivity. And I kind of got sick of it. I'm like, bye. I'm tired of being a pawn in your game of chess. Sorry.
I would prefer that you are the queen in the game of chess. But
I would too.
But
That's the story of the time.
How do you navigate the need to prove who you are and knowing how others see you?
I just don't care at this point, right? I'm just like unapologetically, and I got to that point.
You do care. You do self-censor. You do change what you're going to say because things might be recorded or things might be heard.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Are you being a little dishonest?
No. No, I don't think so. Like, I'll say what I need to say, but I do feel like, yes, in the West, I had to do that.
Right.
One, because there was that looming immigration,
right,
deportation,
right,
situation going on, right?
That rhymes. Immigration, deportation, situation.
I should write a rap about it. Yes. Oh no. Yes, there was a lot of censoring.
Okay.
In the West, but I just by the end of it, right, when I figured out that I wasn't gonna stay there anymore, I was like, fuck it. Now I can say whatever I want.
You can.
And it is tricky though, right? Because if I ever want to return, then it's that recorded bit. And at this point, I've made peace with it. I'm like, you can take whatever I've said. It's not going to change how I feel, or facts are facts. It's happened. I'm not speaking out of my ass. But
You're not.
I'm not. This has happened. These are my experiences, and this is what I can talk about. Anything else is hearsay, right? I will not speak on someone else's behalf.
Right.
I will tell you what has happened to me.
Right, of course. You can only share your own experiences.
Yeah.
And in that sense, on behalf of the Canadian people and the Canadian government, I sincerely apologize. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to do that, but still. I'm pretty sure I'm not.
You are not.
I'm not. But still, I mean, when I heard that the visa was refused 5 times.
6.
6 times? It is a bit of a shocker.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
was there no? Did you, as per the usual pathways that Pakistanis would follow,
Yes.
did you hire a lawyer? Did you talk to a immigration consultant? What exactly happened?
No.
Because frankly, in Canada right now, they've given hundreds of thousands of visas to people who I really don't think deserve the visas.
Yes. Yes, correct.
She said it, guys. I didn't.
You said it. I just agreed.
I said, frankly, I think they don't deserve it. Maybe they don't have the right IELTS scores, or maybe they don't have the right education curricula or the right education qualifications, but whatever. There's something happening with immigration in Canada which is being questioned.
There's something happening in immigration all over the world, even Australia, US.
The boat people?
Huh?
The boat people?
Haha.
How do you feel about the boat people?
As in, like, what is happening to them?
Well, we know what's happening. We know what's happening in Christmas Island. We know that Australia is the first country that's given up sovereignty over an island just to make sure they can house people who can't claim asylum.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a balanced view that what they're doing is engaging in illegal activities.
Right.
But then there's a counter argument that, they're not illegal humans. Where do you stand on all this? Where do you stand on the boat people?
I guess I don't, and I can say this, I don't have enough knowledge on both sides to actually make a comment. Sorry.
It's a very good answer.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer.
And I don't, and so many of political arguments, right? When I don't have enough knowledge.
Right. I mean, at least you're honest.
I'm like, I don't have enough knowledge to engage in this conversation. I'm happy to go back and read up on it.
No, of course not. I would ask you to
No, I'm just saying in general.
Right.
Like even with the whole Palestine thing, right? When there was arguments happening constantly, I had to do my own research.
Right.
I had to do my own reading and then come to the table with an informed decision.
Of course.
And when I didn't have that informed decision, I'd be like, I can't engage in this conversation because I don't have enough knowledge. And you're allowed to do that. I think people don't understand that. People think that they can hear things from other people and base their argument on that.
I assure you, half my knowledge comes from WhatsApps. So I'm not really sure what to believe and what not to believe.
Oh dear.
No.
Oh dear.
I kid. I absolutely agree with you. We need to make ourselves more aware. We need to make ourselves more cognizant of what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Israel, what's happening around the world. Frankly, the entire world is in flames, and with Trump in power in Canada, in the US at the moment, and soon maybe Canada as well.
Yeah, probably.
You never know what's going to happen next. Where do you see the world going? Do you see the world hurting more, or do you see some healing happening?
Oh, good question. I think the world will always find its balance, right? Where there is hurt, there is healing. Where there is healing, there is hurt. So I think they're very much on that scale. Right now, the hurt scale, I feel, is tipping more with everything that's happening in the world. And I pray that there is more healing than hurting in the future. That's all we can hope for.
We can. Another question about Blacklisted.
Yes.
I found it to be a very intimate portrayal.
Yeah.
And even you told me that after the show, you need a few minutes to,
decompress
and, take a breath and, come back to normalcy.
Yeah.
How much of your emotion do you pour out every night you perform the show?
Oh, 150%. It is real every night. And so many people in Karachi shockingly asked me, they're like, are the tears real?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I put myself through that every night. And it's not because it's not rehearsed, is what people need to understand. Yes, it is to a certain extent to save myself from dipping into real trauma. But the words I say, and I think my body has just kind of adapted that muscle memory as well, where it's like the words I say, I feel them every time. And the words I say are real every time. And they sometimes change with when I move countries, right? Because when I was in Australia, I hadn't left.
Right.
But I had an expiry date. Right. The first time I performed it, I didn't have an expiry date.
Right.
So the show progressed and I evolved And there were things that I didn't feel anymore in the show, right? Because it is autobiographical.
Right.
There were things that I didn't feel anymore that I was saying, and it felt inauthentic. So I said, that's got to go.
Do you feel the show will evolve further?
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to tour this show to the world. But I think it has come full circle coming to Pakistan, right? Because I am now on home soil,
Right.
and it's come full circle, right? My one foot is not out the door,
Right.
right? And I can stop like really just kind of having that expiry date loom over me. You know, that was hard. That sentence was hard to say in Australia, to say that on this day, my visa will expire and I have to go home. And there were so many people that obviously went, no. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's your government. Don't tell me. It's like, what are you owing for me?
I need to ask you this, and it's a really important question. Did Australia ever feel like home?
Yes. I think some people visited, and I think that is when it did feel a little bit like home. Yes, I got very attached to some of the places, the people is who I absolutely miss. And you know, when I was leaving, so many people asked me, they're like, are you going to miss Australia? And I'm like, absolutely, I will miss Australia and the people in it, but I don't think I'm going to miss the industry in it.
The music industry.
The music and theater industry.
Not good.
Like, no, I won't miss it.
Okay.
Only because, yes, there is a lot of it happening, but one, it's just a lot harder to break into. Two, there's a lot of gatekeeping. Three, there's just like being an immigrant, right? I'm not even eligible for grants or any sort of government funding, which I understand, right? You have to be Australian or it's for their people. I'm like, but then don't take my taxes. I'm paying taxes.
I agree. You're paying sales taxes, you're paying taxes on buying a house or whatever you do as an immigrant. Anyway, let's switch it a little. We'll move to Aaliya.
Yeah.
Upcoming show. You're working on a musical. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. So I started writing a show 6 years ago when I was in Australia called Aaliya. It wasn't originally called Aaliya.
Right.
It was called Fathers and Daughters. But the whole premise of that show and the whole point of that show is to spread awareness for epilepsy.
Right.
It's not talked about.
It's not talked about
enough.
In fact, in South Asia, it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Stigma.
Yeah.
Something that you suffered through.
Yeah.
Is that going to be reflected in the show as well?
Yeah, but with humor, with song. I personally, and so many people are like, why is this a musical and not a play?
Right.
I was asked this about Blacklisted as well. I'm like, because the emotion that comes through music and the melodies that emote through not speaking are very different. Why do people underscore films? Why do they do it?
To bring out emotional response.
Right.
Right.
And so I think my strong suit is music.
Right.
Dialogue, yes, but I think I have a lot to offer in terms of music. Right. And so my whole fusion, which I love doing,
right,
is very, very prevalent in all my music. And so when I started writing Aaliya, there's a lot of like blues, jazz, a lot of Eastern classical stuff happening. And I love it. And so it is set with a South Asian family.
Right.
When I was in Australia, I obviously set it in Australia, but now I'm back, so I'll set it here.
Right.
So I think, and that's the beauty of like plays and musicals, is that when it travels, you can adapt it.
You can localize it, yes.
Right. And so that is also semi-bilingual. At this point, it doesn't have any Urdu songs in it.
Right.
I might. I'm still writing it.
Right.
I'm still kind of tweaking it a bit. But that is my big goal for the end of this year, to get that show up and running. the thing is, right, musicals have to go through development phases.
Right.
Right? You can't just write a script, write the music, and say, all right, I'm going to put this on.
Right.
I mean, you can, it'll be terrible.
Right.
Because that'll be like your maybe first or second, third draft. I'm probably on like my 37th draft.
Seriously?
For this musical. Oh, yeah. From 6 years.
Right.
Right. And I have written close to almost 60 songs for this.
Okay.
Not all of them are in it. But the music and the story has changed from the start, right? And so people have come on board. They've given their advice for the script. The script has changed. The music has changed. It has evolved. And so when I started, it was called Fathers and Daughters.
Right.
And then there was development with a company, with an organization who took it on and said, we want to help you develop it. And so I started realizing when I was writing how much of like Western culture I had adopted.
How much of the Western culture you had adopted?
Adopted and adapted. Is that and this is, I'm very big on like names for characters. All my characters were white names. And I like took a massive step back and I was like, oh no, oh no.
Right.
And so I was like, why have I assimilated to this?
Because you colonized.
Correct. Yes. Yes, we were.
Okay, but let's go on. Why were you saying, okay, but you realized that in order to change it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, no, we're going to change. And so then the story changed. The story changed from this relationship between Aaliya and her dad
Right.
to then Aaliya and everyone in the story. So I decided to name it Aaliya.
All right. So
Because it is her story.
the central character is Aaliya.
The central character is Aaliya, who lives with epilepsy, but is carrying a terrible secret. And I will not reveal that secret on this podcast. But no, it's a big like, but it takes you through the journey. I'm aiming for it to be 90 minutes. But there's just so much I want to cover.
Will you cover something positive about neurodivergence in South Asia? Because
absolutely,
from what I've seen, people in South Asia don't really understand, or maybe they're afraid of people who are neurodivergent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that is a main like topic. But I've had to do it artistically. I will be bringing on board like an epileptic researcher. And I will consult them as well. I have in the past, but I'm going to have them have a look at the script just so that, it's artistically done and it's not damaging to the community.
Of course, you have to be very careful with the community.
Absolutely.
Speaking of being careful with the community, once you put out Blacklisted, I need to ask you two things. What's the number of death threats you've got? And what is the number of marriage proposals you've had?
0 and 0.
Seriously?
Yeah.
None. Like nothing in the comments. Like this is wrong. Or have you always?
I
had
actually
positive
haven't
support?
looked at any of the comments. I don't.
You don't look at the comments?
I don't bother.
Oh my God, I'm worried about what people are going to say down there. I mean, it's really a huge, part of media sharing and social media. You don't look at the comments at all.
I do when they're like, someone's tagged me, and I should be looking at the comments, shouldn't I? And I should be responding to them also.
Oh, well, you're a content producer. You don't have time to respond to comments.
I'm not a content producer, though. I'm not. I only do it because I have to. Otherwise, I'd hire someone to do it.
Allow me to correct myself. You're an artist.
Thank you.
I would not call you a content producer. Yes.
Thank you. I'm not. I hate it.
I would not call
passion.
Leonardo da Vinci a content producer.
Yeah, correct.
But he is a content producer.
The amount of times you saw me with the camera trying to record something for the camera, you would see that I take at least 10 to 12 tries to just say, hi, please come to my show. I hate it. And I've had these multiple rants to my friends who are artists and are like, no, you must create this persona on social media. And I'm like, why? Why must I give this much access to people about my personal life?
You're very right.
I don't need to.
You don't need to.
I'm like, those who want to come see the show will come see the art regardless. I don't need to be all this persona. And I'm like, no, I just need to be real.
I understand your point about being real, but your show is very intimate. It offers a very deep glance into your psyche.
Yeah, I know. And that's what someone also else said to me. They were just like, you're literally doing a show that portrays your entire life. What are you talking about access? I'm like, yes, but that is live theater, right? You will see it, you'll hear my story, you'll walk away, you'll ponder over it.
Right.
It's not going to be with you forever unless you've like taken a bajillion videos, which people have now.
Well, the bajillion videos will only help you. I mean, they get your name out there, they get your message out there.
Yeah.
And I hope a bajillion videos also go out for Aaliya because we really need to get that message out.
Yeah, the whole thing right now with Aaliya is, and once it's done, I have to smartly tackle it with sponsors.
I would recommend start putting out your stories on YouTube.
No.
Yes.
No, I can't because then someone will steal it. Yeah, go on. Go on.
Nobody will steal it. There's copyright protection. You can put your story out.
Is there?
Yes, there is.
In Pakistan?
No, on YouTube there is, not in Pakistan. And YouTube is not in Pakistan.
Yes, but people will see it in
Yes,
Pakistan also, but then they will steal it and then something else will come out and then they'll know my story and then I will not be quick enough and someone else will do it. You know, I'm in my brain right now, okay?
If you
I have
want,
paranoia.
we have a production team who can work with you. We can put out your stories, your explainers, a poem that you might write or you might read to camera. It's a great idea. Like, get the word out there. I mean, again, I'm no one to push this to you. And I tell this to all artist friends that, yes, get your name out there.
Yeah.
Project the best of Pakistan.
I know.
Get the media narrative right. And I think you are one of the few people who can do it.
I know.
All right.
Fine, I'll consider. Someone was like, please put out your music.
Yes.
I know. I'm on it. I'm trying.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying.
I keep hearing this from a lot of artists that I'm on it, I'm doing it. And then 3 weeks later.
Daunting.
Why?
Because.
Look, yaar, every night you are out there making people bawl their eyes out. By, sharing your deepest, darkest moments, your mother's words.
But see, okay.
Huh.
Yes. That comes from live theater and live music, right? I cannot create that same effect on just
a video,
a voice or video.
Okay, I see.
Right? So if I was to put out this album of Blacklisted, I would do it as a live recording.
What about a spoken word album? See, there's solutions which can be done. Let's work together and form some solutions.
Sure. Yes, someone did say that to me. They're just like, why can't you make a version of this show where it's like more marketable and more people get to see it and just like, maybe we'll pitch it to Netflix. And I was like...
See, the problem is you're an artist. So you're not worried about the numbers. You're worried about the performance. You're worried about the output and the message.
Yes.
I love it. It's pure art. Yes. It's brilliant.
And I did. Like, I spent so much time in Australia and so many people were like, oh, just get a corporate job. You'll get to do your art. I'm like, no, my art is my art. I will not sell my soul to corporate. And even with this art, I'm like, I refuse to now. Yes, there are things that obviously commercial work will be commercial work.
Right.
And it'll be just a paycheck.
Right.
But even then I'm like picky on stuff I want to do because I want to do stuff that means something and which is like feeds my soul.
Right.
And I'm in that phase of my life where my peace is more important to me, right? And so I don't want to be running around corporates and I teach and it is so fulfilling to my soul. And I'm like, okay, wahan se paisa aa rahe hain, it's fine.
Good enough.
I mean, I'd love to do a commercial that pays me like
$1 bajillion dollars.
And yeah, correct.
Yes.
So much money in commercials.
There is.
So much.
Well, of course, if you're making commercial music, it'll be commercial music. One last question that I have to ask you. What message do you have for the diaspora and for people living in Pakistan and India, especially the young people?
Take up space, occupy space, be unapologetic in who you are, and in the things you say, question the things that don't sit right with you. And I say this a lot, because there is enough space
Right.
for all of us.
Of course, the pie is big enough.
It is, right? You don't have to bring people down. You don't have to step on people's toes. Yes, there are people that will do it. You don't have to do it. And yes, that is, so many people are like, you're a purist. And I'm like, yes, and that is fine. It might take me 5 years longer to get where I want to be, but I will get there with my dignity intact, and I will not have sold my soul to whatever corruption.
What's the message for young girls?
Oh God, this is hard, right? This is a hard message, because I also understand that not everyone has the privilege to be able to be that confident. But I think it has to come from a place of authenticity, but also support. You have to have a strong support network that will push you. I have so many, my mom being one of them, my nani was one of them, so many people that really pushed and believed when I did not, right? And I think for the younger women, I think the only way forward is that if our generation starts paving the way for them. So go support your local women and your local artists and your local comedians and musicians, and you'll find that it's possible. And I think, just seek them out.
Seek them out.
Seek them out.
Are there any particular Pakistani artists you admire or would you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Natasha Humaira Ijaz doing wonderful, wonderful things.
Right.
Parisha Adnan also doing fabulous things in Karachi. New musicians coming up that I'm working with, Sherry, Selvin, all my Karachi musicians.
Right.
They're wonderful. And I'm finding new people. I've only just moved back 7 months ago.
Right.
Though I'm finding more people.
Speaking of musicians that you're finding, have you used AI to produce the music?
No.
Would you?
No.
Why not?
Okay, so we're going to have this discussion, fine.
Why not? We can have any discussions under the sun, yeah. I mean, it's a podcast.
And I have this debate with so many people.
Right.
I am all for live music.
All right.
Right? And so people keep telling me, they're just like, yes, but the world of production is so much more.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, I agree. But it doesn't fit my soul. They're like, but you can do so much more. And I'm like, can I though? Can I recreate the sound of a sitar and a tabla or a sarangin or a rubab or a veena? Can I create these and still have the emotional depth that these instruments have? The answer is no. The answer is no. Right? Western instruments, sure, I can create them. But then everyone's doing that. So why does that make me unique? Where is my voice in that? So no, I don't need to use AI.
Your refusal to use AI...
I'm so I feel so strongly about it. Someone the other day was just kind of like, oh, I just used AI to make a song. And I was like, oh, fine.
Have you ever tried using AI have you asked AI to write you a song?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it responded with a song, which could be barely called a song.
Yeah, absolutely. With no depth it rhymed.
Right.
Basic.
Right, very basic.
But had no emotion behind it. And
see, what I'm afraid of is that 5 years from now, some artists will put out this brilliant Grammy-winning song.
Yeah.
And then 2 months after, they'll confess it was written by AI.
I know.
And that's what worries me. That's what worries me about content production. That's what worries me about music or art.
That's what worries me about putting my music out also.
Right.
Is that you can sample so many things now and use in grab things from other people's music and then
Right.
claim it as your own.
Right.
So, although someone the other day, my friend Faraz, Faraz was just like, but like, imagine, right? So you can reach so many more people with your music. And like, you haven't even met all these great bands that you listen to. And
Right.
half of them are dead.
Most of them, yes.
So like, Queen, the Eagles, right?
Right.
They're just like, if they didn't make their music, you would be listening to them. And I'm like, that makes sense.
It's a very valid point.
Yes. And my music director in Australia, shout out to him, Tim Cunniff. He said to me, we were rehearsing this show, and I made a joke. I was like, haha, I'm a funny songwriter.
Right.
Right? And he's like, yeah. And I said, one day I'll make money off of this music. He's like, yeah, just imagine how rich you'll be when you're dead. And I'm like,
True.
thanks, Tim.
True.
Thanks, Tim. So yeah.
See, great artists always discovered after,
Yeah, that did die.
after that. I mean,
Which
Van
is
Gogh
fine.
sold, one painting in his lifetime? And, 55 million for the last one.
At least my next generation will live freely, I guess.
Very
It's fine.
happily.
I will struggle. It's fine. There is power in the struggle.
There's power in the struggle.
There is power in the struggle. And people who don't understand the hustle or the struggle, I guess, will not make great art. There, I said what I said.
What are some good musicians coming out of India?
Out of India? Oh, that's a good question. I am, sorry to say, very oblivious to that music.
Right.
I've come back and I've dived into more Pakistani artists
Right.
and local artists than I have into Indian
No
music.
worries.
Yeah. Bollywood music is... I used to listen to a lot of Bollywood music.
Back in the 80s and 90s, yeah, those are the good old days of Bollywood music. Now it's really bizarre. I can't fathom Bollywood music these days.
Yes, and also just kind of like the remixes that are coming. It's just so techno.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you saying?
It's auto-tuned, it's, jazzed up and toned down.
And that's a choice.
Welcome to the world of AI.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why it's bugging me. I'm a folk musician.
Yes, you are.
A lot of my music is very folky.
Yes, I would call you a folk
And very
musician.
like Joni Mitchell-esque
Right.
vibes.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. It took me a long time to find my voice.
Right.
It took me a long time to come to terms with my voice. And so I'm sitting at a place now where I'm like, okay, this is the kind of music that I like writing, that I love producing. And it's a vast, it's very, very vast.
Of course.
So anytime I hear my voice being auto-tuned, it's so jarring to me. It's so jarring to me. The one, I hate listening back to myself.
Right.
That's why I don't put out my music.
Okay.
I hate listening to myself. I hate listening to myself.
All right.
And then when it's like auto-tuned, I'm like, why? Why is this auto-tuned?
Because it sounds better. We have to make it, faster, quicker, smoother. We are scientists. We need to make things better.
Not falling for that trap.
I agree with it. Look, there's something to be said about analog. There's something to be said about old school. There's something to be said about live music.
School. Yeah. And I'm
completely
old
agree with
school
it.
and I'm old school of thought. And I'm like, it's fine. I don't need 1 million followers. I don't. I really don't do it for the followers.
I'm glad you do it for yourself.
I do it for myself. I do it for the art. And the people who will actually engage with my content will be the ones that will actually follow my work and follow my journey. And those are the ones that I want.
We will never sell our souls. Thank you so much.
Thank
You've
you.
been very kind. I really
Thank
appreciate
you
you being here.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so much.
having me.
Thank you so much.